Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for today's products I'm going to use a wood grain embossing folder. I also have a lawn fawn, some lawn fawn dies. So I have the ocean waves, I think it's called, and I have the stitched hillside backdrop in the landscape. I also have palm trees for the palm trees and the Scalloped treat box beach add-on. And those are all the die pieces that I've already cut out just to save a bit of time. And what I want to do with the landscape, the hillside backdrop, is I actually want to manipulate, is that the right word? I want to make it work for me for what I want to do. I don't have the tropical backdrop that lawn fawn have, which sort of has a sort of beachy bit in the front and then a few palm trees. So I thought with this frame around it, so I thought I would create kind of my own version. It's not exactly the same, obviously, but at the moment I've taken one of the hills out of this backdrop, and then I'm using a pencil just to sort of guide a sort of swoop of sand at the bottom, and then I'm going to cut using a craft knife or a X-Acto knife, is that what my American friends call it? And I'm just cutting through that just roughly, and it's very rough. For the most part you're not going to see this by the time we finish with it, but it just gives me a guideline as to where my sand is in the in the card. And I think I'd probably prefer having the die because this was a bit painful. I don't cut like this often because it's too sore to do, so never mind. But yeah, I just kept going until I was happy with the sort of shape that I had. Like I say, it's not perfect and it's kind of wonky, but you won't really see this by the time we finish inking and everything else, so for the most part it's not too bad. So now what I want to do is I just want to tape off this sort of frame part so that I can ink what will be the sand. So I'm just using some this is actually some tape, I think, that I got from Wilco's or something. It's like when you got bandages, it's that kind of tape. And I just sort of tore a piece off, stuck that where I wanted it on the frame, and then used some brushed corduroy just for the sand effect. I'm not going super smooth with it either, because I want that texture, and then I've added some water as well. This is just plain cardstock though, so it's not going to react it reacted, but it's not going to do what watercolor or mixed media paper would do. And then the same again here, I've got some tumbled glass, and this is just some regular cardstock again, and I'm just using the tumbled glass just to get some sort of sky in the background. I didn't want it to be stark white. And then I thought it was a good idea to use the tumbled glass on the waves as well. The light one you can see it a little bit, but the darker one you obviously can't see it at all, so I don't know why I bothered with that. And then for the wood grain, I've used it on a blue piece of like navy cardstock, and this piece of cardstock is about 3 by 3.5 or something, but I do cut it down a little bit just to make it fit better. But I just kind of used the width of the rooftop of the Scalloped treat box add-on as a guide to how wide I needed this piece for the base of the house. And once I'd inked it, once I'd embossed it, I then inked it with some white pigment ink, just so that those like grains of wood sort of stand out a little bit. It's very subtle. It's not like in your face or anything, but it does make a big difference. And then I'm going to start sort of deciding where I want all these sort of pieces. So in hindsight, I should have also cut the back piece that is my sky the same size as this frame. That would have been better. It's slightly smaller. It does still fit, but it's yeah, it's a little smaller. So it was a little tricky just to get it on there, but it's fine. It works out fine. And then I'm going to start by sticking both my waves together where I want them. And I put the smaller scallop of the wave in the back, because I figure you're further back so the waves will be smaller. That was the thinking anyway behind it. And then sticking the two of them onto this piece that is my sky backdrop, if you like, just roughly, you know, where I want them, and then trimming off the edges. It's a little trickier when there's 2 layers of cardstock, so I could have done one at a time, but I didn't think about that at the time, so good thing I got some good scissors. So now to put together the 10,000 pieces that there are for all the it's palm trees. These are the palm trees from palm tree dies, and what I'm going to do with these is I'm actually going to, both palm trees basically face the same way, so I'm going to flip 2 of the two of the trunks around so that they actually then curve the opposite direction. So these 2 on the right are the ones that I've actually been turned over so that they can curve in the opposite way. Actually, it might be the ones on the left. Beg your pardon. And then for the house, I have 2 colors here. I have a white and this sort of teal color, I guess. And I'm going to cut in between each of these. The slit marks there are actually, or what looks like a design feature, which it is, are actually like there's a slit there, so you don't have to cut an awful lot. But I wanted every other one to be this color, so I just trimmed down each of these. Well, the blue one, just to get so that I've got that alternating color on the little roof line. And then I decided that actually wet adhesive is probably easier, so I just put a line of adhesive on there, and then I'm just going to stick each one down in place, and then it makes it look like there's this sort of stripy, which to me is very beachy. The stripy thing is kind of a beachy look, I think. And then my camera kind of went off, so so here I have some of the other pieces. So I have the window, which has got these teeny tiny little shutters as well, and all these pieces cut from the die set, so you don't have to even think about any of this. All the pieces are there. The sort of the inside of the window, so the yellow bit, the little shutters, everything. And then I have a little, like, what do you call it, like a life buoy sort of thing, and I'm gonna put that on the door. I thought that'd be cute, so I'm sticking that straight on the door. The door does open if you want it to. I decided to leave it shut, and then it even cuts out a teeny tiny door handle. So I did that the same color as the roof. And then I have my little seagull, which I did in a grey and a white, and his eye actually stayed in even after I die cut it, so I left it there and put a piece of tape behind it, and then just used a black pen to create the eyeball. And I actually really like that look. I did it on an Easter card. I think it was one of the interactive cards, and I did it on that for all the bunnies, and it looks so cool. So for these I decided to add a bit of extra like depth. So I just grabbed some Copic markers, alcohol markers. You can use pencils, you can use markers, you can use whatever you like. You can even use ink and just ink the edges, but I just wanted some extra texture on there just so that they stood out a little bit more and weren't so flat. There's nothing wrong with just using them as they are, but I just wanted to try this because I've not really done this before. I usually just leave things as they are. I might ink the edges of things, but I don't generally use like markers and pencils and things like that, which is a shame. I should probably do that more often. So I'm using a variety of just colours that I think would work with the colours of the cardstock I had. And there's lots of different colours here, so it's just what I thought would work with it. You know, it's whatever your gut feeling tells you, kind of thing. And then on the tree trunks themselves, where there's little, I guess where those little lines are, that's where I came, those little like dents that are in the tree trunk, that's where I came in from. And then of course you can go and go and go, so you could do this with a couple of different colors and then keep shading and shading and shading. I just kept it really, really simple, and it still adds a bit of dimension, you know, to those pieces, but it's not sort of overkill in the sense that it took me long enough to do, but it didn't take me that long to just add that in. So of course I needed it for the palm trees themselves, for the leaves, and then also the little anchor. I thought that needed a bit of shading from the bottom up, and then all the like grassy pieces. The coconuts I didn't bother with because they're very dark anyway, so that I didn't worry with. But like the palm trees, I just gave a bit of extra flick, like a flicking motion of the marker, just to give it that sort of wispy kind of look on that leaves might have. I don't know, do leaves have wispiness? I don't know. So just so that there's a bit of extra something. So now I've got those guys in place. I've decided I wanted to put the whole piece together because I didn't need to have these two pieces separate. If I wanted to pop up that framed area, then yes, keep it separate for now, until you've got the scene sort of figured out, or just pop that up with some foam and do it that way. I decided to keep everything flat, so I'm just using the inside of the stitching on this backdrop as a guide where to stick that piece of cardstock. That's why I say if it was the same size it would have been a little easier, but of course it's me we're talking about here. So yeah, so the little palm trees I decided to put in the sort of background or behind the bigger ones, because to me again they look, it's that depth perception, so they look like they're further away. And I had a few issues here trying to get the house base in. I should have done that before I stuck all my palm trees down. So that's why I didn't get that on camera, but it took me a couple of minutes to actually stick it in there, because I had to lift all the palm trees to get in there, to get it behind there. And then of course I used a dry adhesive, so it stuck to everything. So yeah, it was a bit of a bit of a schlep, but it worked out in the end. So here I'm just putting in my leaves, my window and the door for the little house. I put the roof on as well, as you would have seen, and just going to start putting the rest of the scene together. This is kind of the fun bit for me. If I have a rough idea of what I want, then it's not too bad, but sometimes I don't know what I'm doing, and I have like this idea that yes, this is the type of thing I want to do, but I haven't thought out the whole scene. So yeah, in the end, the what are they called? The crab is actually too big compared to that. Compared to that seagull. He's kind of giant. So I don't believe I put that. I think I put this on the inside of the car. I put him on the inside, I think, because he was just too gigantic for the compared to the seagull. But then there are gigantic, enormous crabs out there, aren't there? Certain parts of the world. Anyway, so it didn't look right to me, so I decided not to put it on there, because I just thought that was too big. So I believe I put that on. I put him on the inside, but again, just working out where I want to put all these little bits. You know, the extra sandy banks or sandy hills, whatever you want to call it, waves in the sand. The extra bits of grass, and the grass I always find it looks better for some reason when you stick it behind something. I do stick some in the front, but it kind of, I don't know, it feels like it's more organic when it sits slightly behind something like a log or a bit of sand or something like that. So and then just getting the anchor in place as well. I thought that looked cute there. And then of course my little seagull, just placing him where I think he's going to look good, and getting some more grassy bits on, trying to decide where to put them. This is the thing, it's the trying to decide where to put these things. One more piece of grass that I decided to put over there. And now I've got the coconuts, which, you know, you can't forget the coconuts. So still trying to figure out where to put that. Pretty sure that goes. Does that go in there? Oh, that went in there. It's been a while since I made this. So, yeah. It's almost like my scene wasn't big enough for the amount of images I cut out. So I'm using some glue dots just to stick the coconuts. It made sense. They're round. The glue dots are round. They were the right sort of size. Perfect. So it was just so much easier. And I'm going to get a few coconuts on the trees because I think you just need that. And then the extra ones I will pop around the scene just as if they've fallen off the trees. Because why not? So, and I was having a bit of trouble with my glue dots there. And a couple more. And there are two different sizes of glue dot of coconut as well, which is handy. So I think that's pretty much all the coconuts. And then of course my little seagull. Now because there's a few layers of cardstock, what I did was actually layered two glue dots on top of each other, so that it just gave him behind his body, so just sort of leveled him out a little bit. But that's basically the scene done. So now I needed to find a sentiment. So I actually found my Neat and Tangled Beach Day, and there's just a tiny little, and I stamp it skew, but we're going to ignore that. A tiny little stamp that says Hello Summer. So I put that on there. I thought that's just very simple, and very, I don't know, just worked. And then I was going to add some glossy accents to a few things, and then I decided that actually I didn't need it. Just didn't need it. Sometimes I think things need to have a bit of extra bling and shine, and this did not. So you can easily add extra, of course you can, but I decided not to. So that's the front, and then I did add the little crab on the inside as just an added extra. I didn't want to waste it. I cut it out. I may as well use it, right? So that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed this week's cards. Yeah, and I will be back next week with some more fun and frolic. So see you later, guys. Bye.